Well, hello and happy Tuesday. How is everybody today? How y'all doing? How you doing out there? Is everybody staying safe? It's good to see you all again. I must tell you, I am on like my second cup of coffee this afternoon. I'm having a trouble staying awake. I guess it's the heat. I did a lot of running around today, but I would like you to know that I did get some things worked out with my computer. Hello, Joyce. Thanks for coming in. Yes. Oh, you're off work. Yay. Feeling sassy? It's not a bad feeling. It's just not a bad feeling. Oh, you're working on the Terra blanket. Oh, nice. Are you going to put that in the group so I can see it? Hello, Frozen. Hello, Sylvia. Mysterious yarn people. I like that. Mysterious yarn peeps. I'd love to see it. There is a place in there where you can put it. It's in the pinned comments at the top, the announcements, something like that. I always forget what they call that. So I do want to remind you guys. Alicia reminded us the other day, but if you do not have Instagram, and it should be fixed. I worked on the whole Nightbot Instagram thing, so you guys, it should be better. However, if you are not on Instagram and not planning to be on Instagram and you want to see the things that I post there, if you go over and like my business page on Facebook, that's where all of the Instagram posts go. That's where they live. Now, I do share some of them to the group, but I don't put the crime stuff in the group. So, the group stuff is yarny stuff except for all of our blankets, and that's where we're putting the pictures for our Stitch and Crime blankets and all of those things. So yeah. Oh, is it making you tired too, Kimberly? Oh man. Well, I hope it's something you really enjoy, Cindy. I hope it's something you enjoy. I broke mine today too. Don't tell Alicia. I wasn't fasting though. I fast between meals. I don't even know if I'd had breakfast this morning. I'm not sure if I did. Hey, look, I'm live. Why did it tell me that? That's weird. I got a deal saying I was live. I want to show you guys a little video that, um, and this guy talks really fast, okay? But this one is about situational awareness, and I want to play this for you, and then we'll come back and talk some more. So let's give this a listen, and hopefully you can hear this.
When you're making your observations and you're looking at this behavior and trying to establish baselines, you have to make sure you're viewing these behaviors in context and relevance of your situation. You can't just look at one indicator. This isn't a silver bullet. It's like, oh yeah, shoot that guy. Got to look at at least three indicators. I'd like to say, but again, you have to view it in context and relevance. So let me give you an example. Let me ding you with my wand and I just turn you into a narcotics detective. And you're going to serve a warrant on a house that's full of dope, nothing like you'd flush, a lot of dope. And you walk in the house, you walk past the living room, you walk in the kitchen. You're standing in the kitchen. What are some things you see in a normal kitchen, Mike?
In my kitchen or a normal kitchen?
Normal kitchen, yeah, any kitchen. Yeah,
I don't have a normal kitchen.
Yeah, okay.
No, a thing of utensils, a dish rag hanging on the dishwasher, maybe a drying rack with a couple of clean dishes in it.
Appliances, blender, coffee maker, pots and pans, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Cool. You see all that stuff.
Dead hooker in the dishwasher.
That's not something you
That's
should
not
normal. When you walk in, you see all those items you're serving this warrant. Okay, are all those items within context and relevance of the kitchen? Yes. They're all in context. Are they really relevant to your investigation? Not really, not unless something else pops up. So, okay, now let's rewind that scenario. Instead of walking in the kitchen, you walk in the garage. Now in the garage, you see pots and pans and coffee makers and glassware. Does that fit the context? Not at all. Now, did it maybe just become very relevant? Absolutely. Same thing in country, coming up on some of these HME, explosive cook areas. I remember my buddy telling me they had a tarp and it just looked like sand on top. And he's like, that's funny. And his foot kicked it and the sand started to spark. And it happened to be PTN or something on a big sheet. So always viewing those in context and relevance. So you're like, you did a great example, like, a dad with 3 daughters, hanging out, no problem, as opposed to a single male, in a playground with no kids. That's a problem.
Yeah. For those listening, is there anything that you can kind of give them to take away from this episode to be able to say, hey, these are some of the things that we need to do and how we need to act on?
Yes. And let's start with language. I can't, go all the way down the rabbit, but let's start with the language we use. The word why. Okay, especially with all the craziness that we've seen nowadays in the news media, you see these horrible things, murders, violent stuff. You see people asking why. Why is he doing that? Why is he picking up that brick? It's like, you need to delete the word why from your vocabulary. At that kinetic point, there's no why anymore. I don't give a shit what why is. I care about what's going to kill me next. That brick in your hand, if I got my family with me. So that's one thing you do. Stop asking why. Start asking what's going to kill me next. Denial is the biggest killer out there. Okay, if you've ever said those words, no way did I just see that. No way did that dude just punch that dude. No way did 52 just blow up in a fireball. No way did that just happen. You are in a state of denial. Your brain cannot fathom what it's looking at. I actually got a gunfight story with this too. It happened to me right in the middle of a gunfight. If you've ever been there, you're in denial. You're basically stuck on stupid. There's nothing happening right there. So stop trying to explain away other people's behavior. If you see something weird, stop going, oh, he's probably just so-and-so. I hear it all the time. It's like, stop. That's not your job to explain someone's weird behavior. If anything, it's their job. Walk up and tap and go, hey, what's up, man? Good morning. What the hell did you just do that for? So that's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway is stop asking why and, stop explaining away people's behavior. Obviously, we go real deep with this behavior, and we will, but that's the biggest takeaway I give with people.
In terms of on the civilian side of courses that you run now and things of that nature, have there been any feather in the cap moments where you've put people through training that has gotten them similarly, like they contacted you afterwards and said, hey, we were here in your class on this, taught us that, or whatever, anything like that?
Yeah, we got some good ones. And again, you even mentioned it, like, how do you quantify prevention?
Yeah.
You can't put a number on it, you can't prevent it, but I can tell you a story, So we had the Afghanistan one on the civilian side. There were a few good ones. They had this woman from Guatemala. I talked about situational awareness, checking your six, no one really does that. She came up to me and she kind of like tears in her eyes at the end of this course. And she goes, I was born and raised in Guatemala. She goes, I had a shitty life. It was bad. Murder, whatever. She lives in Orange County now. She's great. She goes, I grew up doing that, looking behind my back, and I still do it to this day. And I'm really self-conscious. And I think people are they think she's a freak. Most people, I guarantee, don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And she goes, what you told me is I'm doing it right, huh? I'm going, absolutely, you're right. You've been right this entire time. It's everybody else's, the weirdos.
Yeah.
And she kind of smiled, and that was kind of, it was a stupid kind of little moment, but it meant a lot to her. Yeah. That she, no, you've been right the whole time.
That's interesting stuff. Quit saying why. Okay, I'm going to have to work on that because I say that all the time. I'm always wanting to know why. And I always think that that's part of why all of us have been talking about, we talk about the situational awareness. We talk about the hard target, soft target. We talk about all of these things. And then we talk about the crime and we're like, well, why? You know what? It doesn't help anything. Why does not help? It doesn't help. So I'm wondering if any of you recently have had any moments when you felt like, I noticed something now that I don't usually notice. Okay. Are you starting to pick up on things you just didn't notice before? Can you think of it? Has there been a situation recently that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that before, but I saw that and knew that was not quite right. Hello, Shatika. Yeah, and um, Alicia was reminding me of something we had talked about, which was that the hands, most often you're going to have to watch the right hand because 86% of the population, is it 86% of the population is right-handed. So more often than not, that somebody that's going to come at you is going to come at you with their right hand. I'm such a minority. I'm a lefty and I'm such a minority. Close the eyes, listening, and only when you're safe. Amazing what you hear. Okay. Oh, so when you're safe, you practice listening. I was thinking about this today. I was like, okay, I was close. Okay, so 11% are left-handed, 89% are right-handed. Tech twice in my life, always aware of what is going on around me now. So you're hyper vigilant now. Yes, it makes a difference. So I was thinking, at home, something we can do, that's a good idea, is to practice. If you feel at your home, you're safe, everything's okay, you're in a safe place, you can sit and just listen. And what's normal for your house? I look at Cerberus a lot. If you have pets, this is something that you can do. If there's like a thump or something, do they always look up? Sometimes they don't. And I'm thinking, well, why? Why does he not look up? He knows what that sound is. So I have cats, and the cats will jump onto the top of the she shed because the she shed is a metal building, and there'll be a really loud thump when they jump onto the top of the roof. He does not get upset when he hears that thump because he's used to it. He knows his surroundings. Oh, I don't know how many are ambidextrous. I don't know. Did Shad come in? Hey, Shad. How are you tonight? Good to see you. And our ears pick up so much when they aren't blocked with earbuds. Right. So sitting and just listening. What do you hear? You can hear layers of things, you guys. So I hear the air conditioners. I hear the fans. I can hear the cats moving around. I hear the cats underneath the building. Has been served in combat, hyper aware. On the other hand, born and raised in affluent suburbs and totally unaware. Polar opposites. And hello, Cheryl. Hello. So there is a difference between the country and the city. Absolutely. Well, yeah, but your CPAP, you need to be using that. Yeah, anyone your animals don't like? Yeah. Uh-oh. What happened? That's good, Cheryl. See, that's it. When they suddenly sit up, they're like, they hear something. So what is it? And Cerberus will sit up and there's no noise or anything. And I know that it's not just noise that he is hitting on. He's also smelling. And he will smell when something comes by the outside of the of the building, he will smell it, and then he will follow, and he'll get up and he'll sniff along the outside of the building. From the inside, he'll sniff along the edge. Yeah, we should talk about that. Remind me later. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 meditation. I want to say you talked to me about that once before, but we need to hit on that again. Oh, yeah. See, you're listening to your gut. That's excellent, Annie. Listening to your gut. If 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 your brother-in-law makes you uncomfortable, don't you feel bad. Don't ever feel bad. That's what this guy is trying to say. We always feel bad when we are uncomfortable. We're like, oh, I don't want to say anything. No, don't do that. If your gut's telling you something, don't feel like, oh my gosh, that I might hurt somebody's feelings. Hurt their feelings and be safe. It's better to be safe. Oh goodness. So he was running off. So a little boy running out of Aldi, wasn't able to catch him, looked frantic for the parent, found a sister and him, told her he was, so she was able to go and get him. So he just ran off away from her. Yes, follow your gut. I'm wanting to read that next because I want to get some of these stories. I really would like everyone to read that. I wondered where you were, Shad. I thought maybe something had gone on because hadn't seen you in a while. Well, I'm glad you got it back. We've missed you too. You guys want to hear another one? Hold on.
There was
This one is kind of long. Hold on. This one's a little bit shorter. Okay. Here we go.
There are a number of myths about deception detection.
People believe that if someone looks away or gaze aversion is an indicator of deception, or bringing the hand to the mouth or the jaw, that could also be an indicator of deception. Or grooming gestures like fixing their hair or settling the clothing and so forth, or fidgeting in your chair. All those things are potential indicators of deception, but there's no universal indicator of deception. Criminal behavioral analysis is the umbrella term that covers all the work that we did at the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. That includes criminal profiling, active listening, interview and interrogation, and deception detection. We also study, teach, consult on, and conduct investigative interviews. Investigative interviews can be broken down into non-confrontational interviews and interrogations. But the goal of both of them is to get accurate and reliable information. To get there, one of the tools that we use is deception detection, where we take a holistic approach at looking at many different types of indicators. We look at fight or flight, cognitive complexity, and perception management as three different ways of detecting deception. Fight or flight is nothing more than noting the physiological changes that occur when someone's under stress. Stress can indicate lying. For example, decrease in salivation will make somebody swallow deeply, or increased heart rate, or increased adrenaline to the hands and legs. Because our primitive brain wants to tell us to either stand and fight or run away. So it provides extra energy to your limbs. When you're sitting there in an interrogation and you want to run, but you can't, many times you'll fidget with your hands or your legs, or you'll bring them up and then try to cover them in a grooming gesture. When Jodi Arias was brought in for questioning after her boyfriend was brutally murdered, she was sitting there and being observed by a police camera. Now, many suspects will experience nervous energy, and when they're preparing to lie, that can come out in minor fidgeting or grooming gestures, but sometimes there's gross body movements, and there's no better example of this
And when Jody Arias got up from the chair and went over to the wall and did a handstand for several seconds to sort of burn off that nervous energy, that's a perfect example of fight or flight. The concept of cognitive complexity is that when people lie, they try to keep it as simple as possible. They also lie typically only about two senses, what they hear and what they see. They don't necessarily add how it smelled, or spatial relationships, or interactions with other people. And they typically keep it on a very shallow level.
You said you played video games all day on Friday. Is it just between the time period that he's asking about, or just literally all day?
Literally all day. So if you think about it as cutting an onion in half, and you look at the rings of that onion, typically liars will lie about the first ring, where they were that day, and maybe who they were with.
At moments, not really hanging out with too many people, talking to too many people.
But if you drill down and ask them questions about what did they do during that time? What were they watching on TV? Who won the football game? Who scored the last touchdown? Typically, that will fall apart.
Okay.
And if you talk to one of their co-defendants and they give you different answers, the fact that they're lying really stands out. Perception management is when the suspect tries to behave in a way they think the interviewer would expect from somebody giving a truthful statement. So the suspect might believe that fidgeting would indicate lying, so they'll be very still when they're
That's what Cindy was just saying was Stephen McDaniel. There he is right here, you guys. And he is something else. He never moved. Did not move a muscle.
telling the lie so as not to give it away. But the fact is, throughout the other time, they may have been fidgeting all the time. And then the stillness is actually the indicator that they're deceiving. Then we look at verbal, nonverbal, and non-linguistic verbal communication. Verbal indicators of deception can include words such as like, sort of, almost, kind of. When words like that are interjected in a sentence, what follows is something that the teller doesn't even have confidence in. For example, I sort of did my homework, or I started to go to work. That indicates that someone didn't finish the task that they claim to have done. Nonverbal behavior that could indicate deception are changes in body movements and actions on the part of the interviewee. Once you've normed an individual, you look for changes in their behavior. Someone who's been sitting straight and answering questions directly and looking right in your eyes and being very attentive might become fidgety, strange movements, leg shaking, arms moving, grooming gestures, straightening clothes when they're under the stress of lying. So you have to look at changes in those physical behaviors. Non-linguistic verbal indicators of deception could be an increase in the pace of talking, an increase or decrease in the volume, a change in pitch. Sometimes when people are lying, the stress makes their voice go up a few octaves. And that can be an indicator that you need to drill down on to determine whether they're lying about the thing that you're investigating. The goal of looking for indicators of deception is to then find the areas where you want to drill down deeper and ask more probing questions. Ask in different orders and ask questions around them that may undermine and contradict the things that they've told you earlier. When Scott Peterson was interrogated about the disappearance of his pregnant wife, Lacey, he also gave indicators of deception.
When did you realize you were going to go fishing?
Oh, that was a morning decision. It's either go so play golf at the club or go fishing. It seemed too cold to go play golf at the club, so yeah, just decided to 9:30 or.
There's a major difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is the thing that your ear does. It's receiving sound vibrations. But listening is actually cognitively participating in what you're hearing. And so if you're writing something down while somebody's talking to you, you can't actively listen. And I'd like to mention the fact that this officer is questioning Scott Peterson and writing down his answers rather than looking at his behavior is a big mistake. What he should be doing is letting someone else write down the answers so he can observe Scott Peterson's behavior. A lot of the behaviors that we look for when we're trying to detect deception very common, and you can see it in public statements all the time. For example, when President Nixon made that infamous "I'm not a crook" statement.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
He said, and I think too that I can say,
And I think, too, that I could say
that in my public life, I welcome this kind of investigation.
that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination.
He was so nervous about having to say that statement that he had to build up his courage by saying, I think too that I can say. It's extraneous information. The pace of his speaking increases radically.
That I welcome this kind of examination. I welcome this kind of examination.
And that's a non-linguistic verbal indicator of deception. It's again a change in behavior that's a red flag that I would dive deeper into if I was interrogating him about this. So when we're assessing President Nixon's statements, we look at perception management, verbal, nonverbal, and non-linguistic verbal clues to determine that he's actually lying. During the Whitewater investigation against President Clinton, he was accused of having a sexual relationship with one of the interns at the White House, Monica Lewinsky, and he denied that emphatically. There were a lot of indicators of deception in his denial.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
In this clip, President Clinton is clearly trying to manage the perceptions of the public. He says, I want to say something to the American people.
But I want to say one thing to the American people.
I want you to listen to me.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again.
I'm going to say this again. 3 statements in order to set up what he's about to say, instead of simply stating it. When you're telling facts, you simply have to state them. When you're telling a lie, you have to convince the people that what you're about to say is the truth. And that's what I believe he's doing. President Clinton is a very smart man, and he's using very carefully chosen words here. What President Clinton says here is that he did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Sexual relations with that woman.
That woman being Monica Lewinsky. But he uses the term "that woman" to distance himself from Monica Lewinsky, when in fact, we all now know that he did have a sexual relationship with her. He also uses the words "sexual relations."
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Sexual relations with that woman.
He's using those specific words because he wants people to have a very strict interpretation of what he's saying. What he's doing is committing a lie of omission. He's saying he didn't have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, but what he's not saying is the guilty behavior of having sexual activity with her. He's implying that nothing happened, when in fact all he's saying is, we didn't engage in sexual intercourse. So it's a misdirection and a deception, but carefully clad in very specific language that appears to be a denial when it's not a denial at all. That's what I would drill down on to find out what he actually did with Monica Lewinsky. After every confession, the investigator should drill down into the details, both with the person who's confessing and outside, to verify or refute the details of that confession. When there's inconsistency between known fact and what somebody says in a confession, that undermines the credibility of the confession. Many times cases will be successful or fall apart based on what happens during the course of an investigative interview. So we use behavioral analysis principles to determine whether a confession is accurate and reliable or a false confession. The thing is that every person is an individual, and we have to make sure that we take a holistic look at all of these things, the entire behavior that a human being exhibits when they're undergoing interview or interrogations.
Interesting stuff, huh? And interrogators use baselines. So, and this is not anything that, ask yourself about the people. You don't want to falsely accuse somebody in your own life of saying something that, or doing something, but ask yourself what their baseline is and why your gut tells you that they may not be telling you the truth. Hi, Levi. Watch but don't confront. Liars lie and don't ever expect the truth. Right. You've confronted people and asked them if they're trying to convince me or themselves. Well, there is that, but they're usually not going to tell you the truth anyway. It is fascinating. And you guys, I have found, oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. I have found that there are some really great channels out there, and a lot of people are giving us some very good stuff, and it's all free on the internet. And I'm just amazed at how much information we can find. I mean, this had 3 million views from Wired, and I believe that is the same as Wired magazine, but I'm not sure. And there is a Wired podcast as well. Baselining is quick, and you watch behavior when you know they are being truthful. Yeah. I mean, when you're just going along and everything is fine, and then all of a sudden something sticks out to you, ask yourself what changed. Did their demeanor change? Because that's usually an indicator. Oh, how sweet. That's sweet. When your kids can't figure out. Yeah, and kids, remember, kids don't, people before the age of 25, you guys keep in mind that anyone before the age of 25, their frontal lobe is not developed. It is not fully developed. And that's something that we're talking about with these shooters. If you see really weird, freaky, these, you just have to pay attention to your surroundings, and you have to pay attention to what looks normal, what doesn't look normal, because especially with these young men that are doing things, people are not picking up on the body language quick enough to get out of the way. That's what I'm trying to say. But yes, for reading people, you look for changes in behavior or movements, and the subject at the time made them uncomfortable. They keep it simple. Interrogators do, yes. Well, sure. We know these kids know the difference between right and wrong. They know the difference. People who do things, they know the difference between right and wrong. That's why they get put in jail, because they know the difference. There's some really great books out there, you guys, on situational awareness, and I wanted to bring. Now, you do not have to. I'm not trying to get you to buy anything, but I wanted to let you know about some books that are great books out there. Let's see. Now, this is the one that I was talking about. Gavin DeBecker, and it is. I just wanted to show you guys what this looks like. Oh, my internet's being a little goofy. But Gavin DeBecker, The Gift of Fear. This is the next book that I'm really wanting to read. I have this in my Kindle to read it. Looking to see what they're offering me here. Hold on. Let me take a look here and see what I got. Yeah, I'm going to check. Yes, the library is a very good place to look for things. Bring up why your partner's working late. His eye blink. Okay, eye blinking rate is something. Whenever people start to blink more, they're usually lying. Or they're at least uncomfortable about something. Yeah, left of bang. Hold on just a minute though. Let me go to thought this would be easier to look up. I'll see if I can't get you a list together, you guys. I thought I could just look it up on here, but I'm gonna get you a list together of some things for next time. I don't know how many people will do that much reading. If you read, do you guys read on a Kindle? Do you read books? How many, kind of talk to me a little bit about that, because I'd like to know, what kind of things to be looking for. But I tend to listen to audiobooks. And if it's on audiobook, I can sit and crochet or knit, and I love that. So I will look for that first, and then I will go to the regular book. And I actually don't do that much Kindle stuff. I'm starting to do more of that because it might be easier for me to just flip whenever I'm knitting and crocheting. More likely, a lot of people are more likely to do books. Yeah, it's called Left of Bang. And then that other one was The Gift of Fear. Awesome. You read on both, okay. Patricia wants the book. A lot of people do want the book. My husband always wants the book. You're like me. You're kind of all over the place, Annie. Sometimes price is a difference for me. Evie Pamporis being bulletproof. Okay. Frozen says books. All right. So I will see if I can't get a list together for you guys that might help with. And there's also, how many of you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts? Would you be, because there's some very, very good podcasts. What is the one that I have now? It's a profiling podcast. It is so fascinating to me. Okay, not on there. Must be on Spotify. There's one on profiling that I listen to. Could be the forensic psychology. Man, that is fascinating. Hi, Sarah. Steve, you probably listen to lots of podcasts out on the road, don't you? Kimberly reads the book. They do. They have lots of audiobooks. Looks like Nightbot is behaving again. Oh, thank you. if you just type in, oh, it's probably under podcasts and shows. Man, I must not have added it. I'm going to have to go back and add it. I listened to several of them. It is Think. So I will get a list together. But yeah, you guys, we need to, let me see. We watched the one by Joe Navarro. Do you guys want to watch a bit of that again? And that one is so good.
Nonverbals are
Here's the one by Joe Navarro. It's really good.
anything that communicates but is not a word. The public knows them as body language. How we dress, how we walk have meaning, and we use that to interpret what's in the mind of the person. My name is Joe Navarro, and for 25 years I was a special agent with the FBI. My job was to catch spies. Most of my career I spent within the National Security Division. A lot of it had to do with looking at specific targets, and then it was about, well, how do we get in their heads and how do we neutralize them? Our security is based on nonverbals. We look at the person through the peephole. We look at who's behind us at the ATM machine. We know from the research that most of us select our mates based on nonverbal. So we may think we're very sophisticated, but in fact, we are never in a state where we're not transmitting information. There's a lot of myths out there. The ones that stand out is if you cross your arms, that it's a blocking behavior. That's just nonsense. Even when you don't like the person that is in front of you, this isn't to block them out. It's actually to self-soothe, because in essence, it's a self-hug. When you're sitting at a movie and you're watching, you're going to cross your arms. You're waiting for somebody, you tend to do this. What's interesting is we do this behavior more in public than in private. The other one that really stands out is as we think about something, we may look in a certain way. As we process the information, we may look in another way. It's certainly not indicative of deception, and it really shouldn't be used that way. All we can say is the person is processing the information. The other misconceptions are that if the person clears their throat, touches their nose, or covers their mouth, they're lying. We do these behaviors as self-soothers. They're pacifying behaviors. Scientifically and empirically, there's just no Pinocchio effect. And people who prattle that and say, well, we can detect deception because the person touches their nose or covers their mouth, that's just sheer nonsense. We humans are lousy at detecting deception. Espionage work is often nowhere near what we see in movies. And in one of the cases, we had information from another country saying, you have an American we think is actually a mole who somehow entered the United States, is able to pass as an American, but he's here working for a hostile intelligence service. And just fortuitously, he was videographed coming out of a flower shop. We're looking at the video, and everybody in our small unit, we were saying, well, there's not much there. You know, he's coming out of the shop, getting in his car. And I said, stop the film right there. Just as he came out of the shop, he took the flowers, and most Americans tend to hold the flowers by the stalk so that the flowers are up. This individual took them and grabbed the stalk and then held the flowers so that they were facing down. And I said, that's how they carry flowers in Eastern Europe. Rather than confront him about, are you a spy, I decided to do what's called a presumptive. So as I sat there with him, I said, "Would you like to know how we know?" And he had this look on his face, and I said, "It was the flowers." And then he confessed. When I
So we've watched some of that one before, but that one is really good. Probably need to get a list together or something like that too, right? Like a list of those that are like, okay, this could be, but depends on the baseline. So we'll probably get into more of that. Chelsea's just reminding me about something that I wanted to tell you guys. I'm really excited to tell you now. I don't have mine yet, but I have ordered something. Okay. And I am now an ambassador for a company called Birdie. So let me see. Give me a minute to find their website for you.
came into law enforcement,
It's called She's Birdie. And we talked a little bit about some of this the other day. If you remember. Hey, Nisi, how's it going? Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to show you on the screen. Now, this is not a sponsor. I am not sponsored, you guys. However, and this is the one that I ordered, by the way. This is called Birdie. Now, I have a link down below in the description box, and I also have a coupon code. They have given me a code to give out to you guys, and it is, and Chelsea, you can put that in there if you want to. And so I am an ambassador now for, it's called She's Birdie. Do you guys see it up here in the corner? It says She's Birdie up here. This is what they're called. Now, what you do here is it comes with this carbiner, and it goes on there, and when you pull it off, you have a light and a very, very loud sound. So it's a personal, there we go. She's going to show it. Personal safety device to have with you. Now, I ordered one. They also have a device called a Birdie Plus, if I can get there. This is the Birdie Plus. It is also the $39.95, but you can get an app with this one. And this one has an app. It's $8.99 a month, where it tells you, it's like GPS where you're at all the time. And you can have a fake excuse to leave call. So somebody, if you want to get away from somebody. Thank you, Steve. I'm so excited about this. I had heard this on a podcast, and I thought, I need to check these out. And they're really, I can't wait to get mine. I'm really excited about it. So you guys go check that out. Again, the link will be down below. And again, I'm not sponsored. Okay. But I want to see if I can find more things like this that I can offer as solutions for you guys that will help everyone. I bet they are noisy. I'm going to test it out. Okay. But I don't know if we're going to test it out on here, because I don't want to blast anybody's ears out. Yes, the locator beacon. It's like kind of like what's on your phones. I'm not really quite positive how the app works. Okay. And I didn't order the app yet. Now, if you want to get it with the app, it's a little different. It's a different setup. The one with the app is different than the regular one. You want to see how it works? Okay. I'll let you know when I get it. A nice little helper. Yes. Test it live. Okay. It's going to be loud. I have to be telling everybody, turn them down just a little bit because it's going to be loud. And over here, I won't be able to turn it down. I have to put earplugs in when I do it. Be pretty close in proximity, and Serbs is going to go nuts. Can you imagine what he's going to do when he hears it? Oh my goodness. So anyway, I've been looking for something that I can offer to you guys and offer a discount on, with coupon codes and that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, turn your volume down. Yep. Safe call is a very, very good idea. So if you are someone's safe call, it's a good idea to have a safe word as well. So if you want the person on the other line to know that you're okay, don't just say, well, I'm okay, because that is not going to cut it. You need a word that says you are okay with that person. And that person knows that word. And if you say that word, then you really are okay. Oh, I know. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I know Serbs is going to go crazy. Yeah, Nico may not like it either. Oh, okay, you guys. That is all I have. Check out that link below, and I will. Well, I'm glad you made it in. I hope you got some good stuff, Sue. Hello, Deneen. About to head out. I'm glad you are back with us, Shad. Good to see you. Thank you all for coming in tonight. I really appreciate it. And I will get that list together of some good stuff for us that you guys want to read and listen to and all of that. I'm excited to work on that list. And okay, so Friday, you guys, Friday night, we're going to be covering Rebecca Rude. Now, they have not returned a verdict yet in this case. The judge, it was a bench trial, and this has gone to the judge for him to decide on. But I want to go ahead and cover it, and maybe we'll see. Maybe by Friday there will be some sort of a conclusion. So don't know, but we're going to cover it anyway and see how that goes. So I hope to see you guys on Friday also. So take care, and I will see you later. I love you, Solomon. I love you, Oliver. I love you, Chelsea. I love you, Carrie. I love you, Sailor. I love you, Mr. Fiber. I love all of you. Have a great night and have fun today. And yes, Duty Ron will be on here after a while if you guys. I'm working on Ed's blanket tonight, so trying to get all that done before I go. Yes, hugs everybody, and I will see you later. Y'all have a great night.